Father, we thank you and we bless you in Jesus' name for this day. And we thank you for blessing us with this platform. Now, as we prepare to empower ourselves, we ask that you would bless us and bless our guests tonight. And we'll be ever so grateful to give your name glory, honor, and praise. In the name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen. Amen. So we have with us tonight a new friend of mine, and I'm going to call his name out. I'm going to say his name, and I'm going to allow him to introduce himself. This is James King. So we welcome you to our platform tonight, and I want to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself to us and give us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get right into these questions dealing with investment.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for inviting me. I surely appreciate it. I started in the military. I spent 23 years in the military. Did many things. I was a public affairs officer. I was a special forces soldier as well. I spent 23 years. During that 23-year period I had a full-time job, and I also learned how to buy businesses and how to invest money. Okay. Once that period ended, I entered into life as a full-time professional investor, basically. But how I started investing was a young lady who was a friend of ours. She handed a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, and some of you may have heard of that book. She handed that book to my wife to read, and I wasn't really a reader. I was about 26. I'm now 46, but at the time I was 26 years old, and I didn't read anything but the Bible. Okay, that's all I read. All right. But once that book was given to my wife, and my wife said, "Hey, read the book," and so I read the book, and that's when it was like God was giving me this in order to I guess to guide me to what I was supposed to do in life. But after getting that book, I had a lot of making up to do as far as reading, and then I understood that it was spirit, mind, body, finances, and having friends. So that's what prosperity was, and so I wanted to fix that part of my life. So I did a lot of reading, a whole lot of reading, and I burned a lot of midnight oil. Okay. And I got involved in so many different investments as far as education and experience. Won some, lost some, but that's pretty much how I started.
Okay, super. Okay. So what we're going to do, we're going to get right into, I got the first question I want to throw at you, and a lot of people feel like that they may not have a lot of money to invest. They're going from paycheck to paycheck. So tell us how do you if you are new to investing, where do you start? Okay. How do you know when it's safe and when it's not?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I really didn't have a mentor. I kind of had to learn all this stuff with the help of God on my own. Now, I did have mentors through books, but I have a philosophy, and it's education before money. Education before money.
That's good.
Get the knowledge in your head and in your heart first. One of the challenges is, even though we're doing this video, for instance, even though you could be informed on given a lot of information, the thing you have to understand is that it's a head thing, it's a heart thing, it's an emotional thing, and it's a physical thing, because it's a shift. It's like a shift from one being to another being. You have to become totally different person, because you might have the knowledge in your head, and because you have fear, you'll never act. Because you
Okay.
have fear, you'll never act. Okay. So your emotions can get the best of you. Your head can talk you out of it, and you'll physically never act. So you have to renew your mind. You have to have faith. Subdue your emotions, and you have to act, because it requires your whole being. Because people don't like to lose money. I don't know about you, but I don't know anyone who likes to lose money. Um, so you get started by education first. Now, you have to determine what kind of investor you want to be. Do you want to be an active investor, or do you want to be a passive investor? A passive investor is basically someone who gives their money over to someone else to invest for them, right? That's a passive investor.
Okay.
An active investor is someone who gets information and who invests on their own. So they make their own deals. Um, so education, and then put a little money in, and learn. As you put a little money in, your education will go up. But you got to decide you have to learn the 5 different asset classes, and then you have to say, well, which one do I want to learn?
So if I am the, okay, we got some feedback coming from somewhere. I'll figure out where it is. If I'm a beginner, and let's say all I can muster up is $100, what would be the best place to put it, just to start to get my feet wet?
I would say, if you're a beginner and what you have is $100, I said education before money.
Right.
That is the philosophy. So you take that $100 and you go and you buy Rich Dad Poor Dad, the book, okay?
Okay.
And then you take the rest of it, which it'll probably leave you with $80. And I recommend you buy Cash Flow 101. It's a board game. Play that game. So buy the game. It costs maybe $79. Sit down with your family, with your friends, and play that game over and over and over, because repetition is the father of learning.
What's the name of that game again?
Cash Flow 101.
Cash Flow 101. Okay.
It's a
All right.
board game. That game will teach you fundamental investing. Cash Flow 202 will teach you technical investing, but we're not even talking about 202. We're just talking about 101 right now. Okay? Cash Flow 101 will teach you the fundamentals of investing.
Okay. All right.
Meaning
So,
it teaches, yes, sir.
no, go ahead and finish it. Go ahead and finish your thought.
It teaches you financial statements. Okay? It teaches you stocks. It teaches you real estate. It teaches you a little bit about gold. It teaches you a little bit about mutual funds, and how money works. It teaches you a little bit of how, if you borrow money, how to make money from the money you borrow. Um, yeah. So you got to play that game over and over. The more you play the game, the richer you become.
And that's a pretty safety, that's a safety mechanism, because it's a very little that you've invested. So instead of getting out and having no knowledge at all and putting a whole bunch of money somewhere and not knowing what you're doing, you end up losing it. But by learning here, it's something real simple as a game where people can learn together. At least that's a place to start. Once you learn, then you can move to the next step.
That's right. Then you could determine, hey, the game also teaches you how to buy businesses. And the name of the game is basically, once your passive income, or the income you have from your investments, is equal to or greater than your monthly expenses, you won the game.
Okay.
And you're out of what's called the rat race of life, this great big circle that people are in. You're out of that rat race, and you enter into what's called the fast track, or the track that the rich are on, where they buy franchises, they buy gold mines, oil wells, they buy stuff like that.
Okay. So let me ask you this question here. This was one that was sent in. What is a real estate investment trust?
Okay. As a professional investor, I would start a real estate investment trust. I wouldn't personally invest in one. Um, that's me. But in order to answer your question, there's nothing wrong with a real estate investment trust. I've seen very good ones when the stock market is low. But really, if you know what a mutual fund is, a mutual fund is uh, when investors pull money together in order to invest. And so think of a real estate investment trust as the same thing. Investors pull money together in order to purchase real estate. That's really what it is.
Okay. Okay. Um,
But it's a
so,
passive investment. Just to know that I like active investments. I like control. Um, I like to be actively involved in the investment because that's when I make the most money, as opposed to being a passive investor and letting someone else um, pretty much control.
okay. All right. Let me get you at one more, and then I'm going to turn you loose, um, unless we get new questions come in. The second one is, where should I invest funds that are in a self-directed IRA?
Now this is going to take you. Remember, I don't use IRAs. I don't use 401ks.
Okay.
Um, the
Tell us
best place
why. Tell us why first.
because as an investor, I want my money in and I want my money out. I want my money. When you have an IRA or 401k is really a savings plan.
Okay.
You don't get to spend that money until you're in your late 50s or 65, your retirement years. Now, it's not taxed during that period of time, but once you start spending money, it's taxed at the highest rate, which is the earned income rate. And it's presumed that your earned income will be very small then. I don't use it because I can't live off that money immediately. As an investor, I want my money in and I want my money out so I can reinvest it and live off of it
Okay.
now, and I can retire young instead of when I'm older.
Okay. All right. Next question.
I'm sorry, but if you do want to know where to invest in a self-directed IRA, just see a financial planner, a financial advisor. They can probably locate you to one Morgan Stanley, Merrill Lynch, somewhere like that, and they can locate you to a good one.
Is property a good investment?
There's no such thing as a bad investment.
Okay.
There is a such thing as bad investors. So the investment really doesn't matter because if that's like saying, is stock a bad investment? Well, if you ask Warren Buffett, who's a multi-billionaire, probably I think he's the third richest man in the world, he would say no. In the area of real estate, if you ask Donald Trump, he'll probably say no. So it's the investor, not the investment. The asset really doesn't matter. You just need the education plus the experience, and that equals the money. So it's really you.
So what I keep hearing, okay, I got some stuff going on here, so gotta figure out what's happening here. So um uh let me give you this next question here. Okay, this is a kind of a long one.
Yeah.
But let me give it to you. The FDIC limit for coverage is 250,000. Is this per account or per bank? For instance, can a business or person have 250,000 in one account and 100,000 in a separate account at the same bank and still have full FDIC coverage for both?
Okay. I saw that question and I was like, I don't save money. Remember, I'm not a saver. I'm an investor, and there's a difference. But as I understand it, is per person, per bank. The reason I don't save money is because in 1971, President Richard Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard, and money became currency, and it began to go down in value. And the Federal Reserve Bank continues to print money, causing the value of the money to go down. So I take money and I don't save. I might put it in silver, gold, as a hedge against inflation, because inflation will begin to eat away that money.
Okay. So last question. They would like to discuss setting up LLCs for rental property businesses
Sure.
and setting up multiple LLCs for property protection.
Okay. I've done a lot of LLCs. Make sure you have a good attorney, particularly an attorney who invests in real estate to set it up for you. If you go cheap and you go with, I think they have where you can do it online. I've never done it online because if something happened, I wanted to make sure I had adequate protection. So if I have, let's say you got, I don't know, let's say you got 4 properties, okay? The question is, should you put each property in an LLC? That's the question. And I would say, well, it depends. It depends on how much equity you have in each one, right? If you have a lot of equity in each one, then what I would do is put each one in an LLC, because the thing is if you have 4 of them in one LLC and there's a lot of equity and something happens and you get sued, then they'll try to take all 4.
Okay.
So you want to use those as kind of that's kind of your strong city. Your as a hedge, it's kind of a wall. But there are other things. For instance, if I have, let's say I have the let me expound on that. Let's say I have a business and I own the real estate. Well, what I may want to do is I may want to put the operating business in an LLC, put the business equipment in an LLC, and put the real estate in an LLC. So if someone slips on my property, then and they sue me, yeah, they'll get the operating business, but they won't get the equipment and they won't get the real estate. Okay, and then they'll take over the business, but they'll owe me rent. That's just the way the game is played for adequate protection. Also, while we're mentioning LLCs, the richer you become, you'll start having to put you may want to put your car in an LLC, your house in an LLC, your bank account in things other than your name. So you'll spend money for that protection. It just depends on how much equity you have in each one. If you don't have any equity in 4 properties, then maybe you'll put all 4 in an LLC.
Okay. We got a question in the chat box, so let me read it here. I would like to know, is investing in trading with Forex a good investment?
No good no such thing as a good investment. It's always the investor.
Okay.
I would say, there's been a lot of questions about Forex. My son, he trades in Forex as well. And I have dealt with Forex as well. Like I said, you got to get educated first. And you have to become a good investor. If you become a good investor, then you'll make money from it. But if you're a poor investor or a poor trader, you're going to lose money.
Okay.
So, but is it a good investment? If you're a good investor, absolutely. Absolutely. Of course, it comes with, you got to learn how to read charts, and you got to be up at like 3 a.m. so, so you could do trading and all that stuff. So if you're willing to do that, And I'm not sure if you could protect yourself if it goes down. I think you only make money if it goes up, unless you do options in Forex. Um, it's a good investment also if you're able to go to what's called, it's a site, Forex Factory, uh, Forex Factory, FACTORY.com. And what I would do is on Forex Factory, what they have is they have the European Central Bank, the Japanese Central Bank, um, all these, the Canadian, all these people who are going to talk in reference to their currency, the president of the Federal Reserve Bank in that country. And so when they speak, what happens is the currency usually goes way up or way down. And look for the boxes when you go to Forex Factory that are red, because that means um, it's going to go way up or way down after the president of, for instance, the European Central Bank speaks. So when the president of that bank for that currency speaks, there's probably going to be a spike up or a spike down, and you can get in and get out. Like I've said, like we've talked before, I said I treat the stock exchange like a cold shower, quick in, quick out.
Okay.
So you want to make sure quick in, quick out. Don't get greedy. There's a saying it goes, pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered.
Never heard that before, but I'll hold on to that. What was that? Forexfactor.com?
Forex Factory. It's FOREXFACTORY.com, and that's how you keep abreast of the information flow. So you're not just putting money in the market without without having something to give it momentum.
Okay. Now, I'm going to turn you loose on your specialty. And that's the black dollar. So if we have any questions while you're talking, then we'll get them on the tail end. But me and you had a conversation prior to where we are here tonight. Okay. And I told you at some point I would turn you loose. So go at it.
Okay. The first thing I'd like to say is that remember to focus on wealth instead of being rich. There's a difference. I mean, as an investor, my objective is to make money, and the most money possible. It's to get my money in, to get my money out. Pardon me, but the difference between wealth and rich is this: wealth is measured by time, and rich is measured by money, which means this. If you have, let's say you have $100,000 $120,000 in a bank account, and your monthly expenses, hypothetically, I know this is pretty high, but this is an example, are $12,000. Well, that $120,000 only takes care of you for 1 year. That's all, and then it's gone. So if you have, I said, $12,000 in expenses every month, and you had $12,000 in passive income coming in, you're infinitely wealthy. You can quit your job. You don't have to work. Let me bring the numbers down a little. Everybody doesn't have the 12. So let's bring it down to like I gave the example of my son. Okay. My son has $2,000 expenses. Okay. So he said, Dad, I want to retire at 25. Okay. So I looked at him, I heard him on the phone, and I was like, okay, well, yeah, you could do that. $2,000, that's doable, where you can retire because your expenses are only $2,000. Now,
before you go too far, he wants to retire at 25. How old is he now?
He is 22.
So he's talking in 3 years, he wants to be retired. Okay, so what was your advice to him?
Okay, my advice to him was make sure, number one, don't increase your expenses. don't increase your expenses. It's the expenses that cause you to really be in that rat race. Because if you work a job, when you increase your income, your expenses begin to transition in direct proportion to your income. Which means this: if you make $1 million and your expenses are 800,000, well, if you made 800,000 a year and your expenses were $800,000 a year, and you got a promotion to $1 million, then what's going to happen is, more than likely, if you're not financially intelligent, your expenses are going to go up to $1 million, and you're broke. So it really doesn't matter how much money you make. It's what you do with the money you make. So what I told him was, I said, well, let's look at you getting educated. Remember, I said education before money. So I sent him a couple books to read on buying businesses and real estate and things like that, in order to have enough passive income, or cash flow as we call it, coming in to cover his expenses. Now
Can you
let me
tell us the name
explain
of those
that.
books?
Yeah, I can. I got one. One was Millionaire in 365 Days. I gave him that. I told him to buy that book. He read it last night. He finished it.
Wow.
So he read that. Yep, Millionaire in 365 Days, so he could learn to buy his own company. So instead of telling him, "Hey, go to school and get a job," I would always tell him, "Go to school, and then instead of finding a good company to work for, find a good company to buy." That's what I would tell him. You know. So another school is Real Estate Money Machine.
Real
And,
Estate Money Machine.
yes, sir.
Okay.
And another book is Stock Market Money Machine.
Okay, we got them. Keep going if there's
I
any other.
told, yeah. Uh, and then there's the three master secrets to real estate success. It's two black guys. These guys are awesome as far as investing in real estate. They know what they're talking about. And now I gotta tell you, it's a Trump University course. It's a university course by what was called Trump University. But the two individuals that teach it are two black guys, and it's how I ended up buying my first property.
Well, you put everybody in shock just now when you said it's a Trump.
That's why I said I gotta warn you. I got to. Hey, I always say, chew the hay, spit out the sticks.
I got you. Okay. All right. What's the name of it one more time? Three Masters Secrets to Millionaire Success.
To real estate success.
Okay. All right. Yeah, make that change. Yeah. Okay. So tell us what else you advise your son to do if he wants to become a millionaire in 3 years.
It wasn't a millionaire. It
Well,
was to
where
become
he wants to
to
retire.
become right, because there's a difference. What Wall Street does is Wall Street puts in our heads that we need to have 600,000, $1 million in order to retire. But you got to ask, why is that? Why have we been conditioned since we were younger to uh, invest in a well-diversified portfolio of stocks, bonds, mutual funds? It's almost like, the way I've heard it is, or I've been taught, is like hypnosis, without thinking why. Wall Street wants your money so they can do something with it, and they want those commissions and fees as well. So you got to know that uh, people are they're not out for your best interest. And so the truth of the matter is, I did mention a financial advisor, and it's great having a financial advisor, but you need to become uh, your own financial advisor. Okay. And now business and investing is a team sport. So you need great advisors around you in order to help you. But ultimately, you are the one, listen to your own counsel as well. Now, I told him, well, you could do it. And keep in mind, there are three different types of income: there's earned income, passive income, and portfolio income. I was urging him to work for passive income.
Say
Earned
those
income
three
is
one
like
more time.
earned income, portfolio income, and passive income.
Okay.
And so as far as earned income, earned income is income that comes from a salary, commission, bonuses. It's the highest tax income. It's the income that most of us learn to work for. And that's why most of us are in the situation that we're in. But that's not the income that the rich work for. The rich work for portfolio and passive income because they're less taxed and there are no caps on the amount of money that you can make when you work for portfolio and passive income. So portfolio income is income like if I buy stock for $10 and I sell it for $20, that $10 is extra that I made is portfolio income or capital gains. Passive income is income that comes from royalties from a book or cash flow from real estate, rental income from real estate, or dividends from stock. That's passive income or cash flow from a business. So I urged my son, I said, son, work for passive income and portfolio income. Don't work for earned income. Now he has to get a job. He's going to get a job. I felt that was the easiest way because there are many ways to make money, but the one I thought would work best for him is if he got a job and took earned income that he received from his job and converted it to portfolio and passive income as quickly as possible. So, like I said, passive income is income from real estate, royalties, things like that. And I told him once you have $2,000 in passive income, in order to cover your monthly expenses, you could retire. You're done. That's the thing. And so he's not rich, but he's wealthy. Remember I said wealth is determined by time. That $2,000 covers his $2,000 of expenses each month. So he's infinitely wealthy. Even though he only makes $24,000 a year, that income that he makes, he pays the least amount in taxes and he doesn't have to work for it. That's the secret that they don't want to tell you.
So all of those who are wealthy,
Yeah.
they pay the least amount of taxes,
Yeah.
or they pay hardly no taxes at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Donald Trump, President Trump will not show his tax returns. And for a reason, because he doesn't pay, he pays very little in taxes. But here's the thing, people get mad at what President Trump does. He learned that from his father. His father, he had a rich father, a rich dad, and his father passed down that information to him, and he's passing that information down to his kids. And the thing is that anyone can do it. Anyone can do it. You just have to change the type of income that you work for.
Okay. Do we have any questions? I don't see any. So you can keep rolling to some things that you think will benefit us and help educate us, empower us when we're dealing with investment.
Let me, are there any questions? Is everyone cool? Is everyone getting it? You know what I mean? I don't want to be talking around people's heads. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Just let me know.
Um, just got a thumb up, good information. So they taking it in.
Okay. All right. Great. My sister just chimed in. Okay. Okay. Awesome. Okay. So, but that's the deal. Focus on wealth, and that's what that game Cash Flow 101 will help you to do. It'll help you to focus on wealth. Because for most of us, we're taught go to school, get a job, work hard, get married, have kids, and those things are true. Don't get me wrong. Buy a house, buy a car, invest in a well-diversified portfolio of stocks, bonds, mutual funds. With without ever really saying, well, where does that come from? And I could tell you this, if most people are doing it, it's probably wrong. I could tell you that. It's probably not the way to do it, or the best way, the quickest way to do it. Um, but just decide what kind of which asset class that you want to invest in. First, there are 5 asset classes, 5 basic ones. There's business, there's real estate, there's paper, which consists of stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. There's commodities, and then there's intellectual property. And I always say, make sure you're well diversified. But the thing is when we talk about diversification on Wall Street, they're talking about being diversified in paper. What asset class? And the thing is, with stocks, bonds, mutual funds, a lot of times if the market crashes, all of them crash. That's the thing, because you're in paper. So if you're truly diversified, you'll have a business, you'll have some real estate, you'll have some paper, you'll have some, royalties from books, or writing movie scripts, or writing songs, or creating a toy, or a software program. You'll have some commodities, some gold, some silver, and if you desire to reach the status where you can start, getting the oil wells and things like that, because those things were created for God and His children, for the children of God. So just determine what asset class do I want to invest in, master that asset class, put some work in it. Will it be easy? I cannot say it will be easy. I mean, in order for Tiger Woods to become a great golfer, he had to miss a lot of swings. And, in order for a baby to learn to walk, they have to walk and then fall and walk and fall. You don't, but so many times we get beaten up when we fail and when we mess up. And there's a saying, a proverb says, "He that faints in a day of adversity, his strength is small." Um, so when a baby falls, we say, "Oh, oh, look at the baby fell, help the baby up." But when people fall, we're pretty hard on them. And back to the baby thing, when a baby falls, we don't say, "Oh, you dumb baby, you fell, you messed up, just stay down." We don't do that, and that's how it is in life. You may make some mistakes, you may miss it, but start small. Despise not the days of small beginning. Start small. So, but put a little money in so your education can go up. Put a little money in so your education can go up.
So what would you say if,
Oh, I'm sorry, did someone say talk to us?
yeah, I think that they're just saying, whatever you're saying, keep saying it.
Oh, okay.
I think that's what that means. I hope so.
Okay.
So, okay, I got a confirmation. Yeah, that's what they mean. So let me ask you this. Let's just say I want to get into real estate. I don't have all the money to do what I want to do. What's the advantages of getting some well-known friends that you can trust to go in with you? Is that a good idea?
I have two opposing views, two polar views in reference to family and friends. There's one that I learned from John D. Rockefeller that is a business, a friendship founded on business is better than a business founded on friendship. I have that one. Okay. And then I have another one where, well, doggone, your the people you start with should be family and friends. The thing is if things turn sour, you don't want to go to the family reunion and then they're sitting there like this turkey. So he's sitting up here with that new jacket, or she's sitting up there with them new shoes, and that person, they owe me some. They know they owe me some money. So 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 I would say, if your family members are like you and like-minded, yes, yes. But if they're not, you're gonna get it. Because it takes. Remember, I told you the change from an employee to an investor is spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical. And some people can't handle failure. Some people can't handle loss. You know, as we said, what did we say? Many are the affliction. No, it was the righteous falls 7 times, and the Lord
Fix them
lifts
back
him
up.
up, picks him back up. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers him out of them all. We don't really talk a whole lot about those scriptures. We talk about, beloved, I wish above all things that you might prosper and be in health, and we we talk about, if you meditate in the word, whatsoever you do it shall prosper. And that's in the word, but the others are in the word as well. You may make some mistakes. You may make some mistakes because you're learning and you're growing. In order to become a great basketball player, Stephen Curry, he has to go out there and shoot a lot of balls. And he misses a lot. But you learn from those misses. That's how you learn. Just start small. Just start small. Don't go big. Don't go big, because you'll cry big.
It's a good thing.
If you start big, you'll cry big. If you start small, you'll cry small.
Any
But you want to
questions?
know about real estate, right? You
Huh?
you had a
Yeah.
question about real estate.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead.
I think if you learn about real estate, get the education. Because I would love you guys to, get together, family members and things. They just have to have the right mindset. The mindset has to be there or want to be there, because what if you lose? What if you lose? So you always got to say to yourself, okay, what do I lose? How do we cover this deal? So let me give you some pointers. Okay. Um, Remember, as an investor, I want my money back. I want my money back pronto. Okay. So let's say, and you'll learn this in the 3 Master Secrets to Real Estate Investing Success if you buy that course. But let's say you decide to do what's in that course, and you want to buy properties in, let's say, bad areas. You can start with bad areas and work your way out. Most people say don't mess with bad areas, but there's some gold in those bad areas. Here's what I mean. You find boarded up houses, you find vacant houses, you find, uh, you know, buildings not in good condition, what have you. Well, there is gold in those properties, and I'll tell you how. Okay, so let's say you find a property. Uh, it has a real estate agent. It's been listed maybe for 6, 8 months, I don't know, and no one's made an offer on it. Um, it's possible that that property has a problem. And remember this saying, in those problems are nuggets of gold. You can find gold in problems. So anyway, so you call the broker, and then you say, hey, I'm very interested in this property over on Wood. Can you tell me a little about it? And then they'll give you some information on it. You'll say, great, well, how do we get the ball rolling? Right? And in their mind is, how do I get that ball rolling toward my commission? So what they're going to do is you tell them you want to send an offer, whatever, you fill out the offer for asking price. Okay. Remember, this is a property that probably has a problem. Okay. Probably has some issues with it. So let's say the asking price is about 80,000, hypothetically. Okay. You already got your bank financing lined up where the bank will allow you to do a 10% down payment. Now you got to figure out ways you may borrow that 10,000. I mean, you might borrow that $8,000 down, or you could save it. Saving it would take a lot longer than borrowing. That's why so many rich people just borrow, because um, it'll be a lot quicker for me to borrow $8,000 as a down payment than save it. It's just quicker sometimes. All right. But anyway, nevertheless. So you call your contractor or a property inspector, They go to the house and they do their walkthrough. They inspect the property. You call a contractor. He inspects the property, and they give you all these problems that the property has. Right? They find all these problems. Now you made an offer on this property, subject to inspection. Okay, you presented the offer. The offer is subject to inspection. Maybe you have $100 earnest money. Earnest money is like basically the money that you're saying, I'm earnest about the property. I'm really interested in it. Okay, so now stay with me, folks. Stay with me. So so the contractor comes back and says it's going to cost, it has a roof problem, a foundation problem, plumbing problem. We got all these problems. It's going to cost, I don't know, $12,000 in order to affect those problems. Okay. So most people will run away when you talk about foundation problems and things of that nature. They don't want to deal with them. But in those problems are nuggets of gold. So you go back. And remember, your asking price. Their asking price is 80,000. The bank will allow you to put 8,000 down, and so the bank will finance the 72,000. Okay, everybody with me?
Yeah.
Okay, so the repairs come out to about 12,000. So you go back to the broker and say, "Hey, tell the seller that I require $24,000 back at closing in order to affect these repairs and future potential repairs, because there are unknowns that you might not know about at closing. I don't want you to lower the price. I don't want you to none of that stuff. I want $24,000 cashier's check at closing." So let's say they agree to it. All right. So you got a $24,000 check at closing. You take 12,000, you affect the repairs, and you got your down payment of 8,000 back. And you got an extra, what's that? 8,000, 12,000, that's 20, and you put $4,000 in your pocket.
Okay.
Got your money back. So you got a property for free. You got a property for free. Now you put someone else in it, and you go find another deal that you could put $8,000 down on. Okay? So the name of the game is, I want something for free. I want my money in, I want my money out. So let's say in today's stock market, you have been buying stock, and, tech stocks have been doing pretty good. They've been going up. They're still going up because of the scare as far as coronavirus, the second wave. So let's say you bought, I don't know, let's say you bought Apple, and you bought it at 200 and now it's 355. Okay, you bought Apple at 355. Okay, so what you do is, and let's say Apple went, I'm sorry, you bought Apple for 200 and the price now is 355. Okay, the price now is 355. So it went up from 200 to 355. Okay, so most people would say, well, I'm gonna just hold it, to go up. I say to you, pull out your original investment, get your money back, and then play with the house's money. Everybody understand? Take your money back out. Leave the rest of the money in. Play with the house's money. You got your original investment out. Why? So you could take it and you could put it to work somewhere else. That's called the velocity of your money. The velocity of money. In the case of the single family home, the real estate that I was telling you about, and you could do it with apartments, you could do it with hotels. Okay. In the case of the real estate, I got my money back at closing, right? Because I got a cashier's check at closing. That was the speed of my money. I got my money back at warp speed. Okay. So in the case of Apple stock, maybe it took 3 months. Okay. Where can you get 100% return on your investment in 3 months? I pulled my money, you pull your money out. The rest of you still own shares in it, but it's the house's money. You take that money and you go look for another investment.
And continue to accumulate.
That's right. You're amassing a portfolio. because that's what you really want to pass down to your kids. Listen, you can't pass down your job. Nope. I can't pass down my education to my son. I can't pass down my job. You'll work at that job for 20, 30 years. My military career, I can't pass that down to my son. He has to start over. But as a business owner, as someone who owns assets, whether it be business, real estate, paper assets, intellectual property, or commodities, I can pass all these things down to my children. This great big portfolio, and then they manage it.
Okay. Any questions?
Anything, just think of something.
So,
Go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
Um, as African Americans, remember that we moved from the industrial age to the information age, and we have a lot of white Americans who we use their devices. Our kids use TikTok and Snapchat, and we use Facebook. We use, for instance, Zoom, right? We use Zoom, but
Yeah.
we have the ability and the capacity to start tech companies ourselves and to take them public. Oh, oh, when he's talking about black money.
We'll let you close out with it after you get finished your thought.
Okay, so we have the potential to get the same information, so we can start our own Zoom, our own TikTok. It may not be that, but I've learned that this intellectual property, for instance, Zoom, it was started by I'm not sure if he's a Chinese American or what have you, but that guy's worth $7 billion. $7 billion from Zoom.
Mm.
It shows the power. Oh, and the guy from TikTok, he's 27 billion, 24 billion, something like that. Anyway, the whole point I'm saying is if you learn how to build websites, apps, technology things, you could take that and then you could take a company public, and you'll become richer than you've ever dreamed. And I think that's what we've been missing as African Americans. I think that's a department that we haven't touched like we should.
I think maybe I called it the wrong thing. I think when we had a conversation on yesterday, it might have been, instead of the black money, it might have been the power of the black dollar. Is that what we talked about?
No, not really. Because I really, because I really I've heard about money being in, for instance, Black Wall Street, how money circulated and it stayed in. And matter of fact, that's where I live. I live here in Tulsa, okay? Broken Arrow, Tulsa area. And I've been to that area. Matter of fact, when I first came here, that's the area that I visited. And about money exchanging our hands over and over and over, like it does, I think it does for the Koreans, and I think it does for the Indians. I think it does. But I'm really, huh?
The time is much shorter than it is for any other ethnic group.
Right, right. Yeah, I really haven't studied a lot about keeping the money in our circles. My goal was just to try to make African Americans rich and wealthy, independently, and as many of them as I can before I die. That was my goal, and to raise up an army of African American people, Black people who are rich and wealthy, and to move us from where we are to kind of to reach that mountaintop, to get up to that mountaintop where we belong, like everybody else. Um, and I think that's what that's what God doesn't like. And God is about equality and fairness. And I think that's something that we've been missing. So that's just my goal. That's my dream. That's my mission. Um, so I can't talk a whole lot about black money.
Okay.
Um, so I can only talk about helping to make black people wealthy and helping to make black people rich, and that's my assignment.
So let me raise something to you because there's and it may be to a degree, but there is a mindset out there that says um, um, black people can't get to the level that you are talking about because we're always looking for a handout. But I say different because we've been put in situations that have kept us bound, like for different communities that we stay in. Um, there's no health care. If you get one strike against you, you get locked up for a certain amount of years, then your family is left trapped without the father being home to help raise the family. So if you could speak to that a little bit.
We need more. Money is power. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is more power than money. But money is power. We need more black people with power, I mean, with money, so that um, we can buy out senators and we can buy out politicians. And we could be, because he who has the gold makes the rules. Okay. I'm a little bit familiar with the three strike rule, signed by President Bill Clinton. Matter of fact, the truth of the matter is it was spearheaded by Biden. It was spearheaded by Biden. So we're looking at the Republicans and the Democrats, and we're being like, one's going to help us, the other. Man, if you want help, you can't look at either party. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. But we vote for who we believe will help us the most, and that's what we do. Um, so we have to be we have to either have a lot of money or be in positions of power so that we can pay politicians to change the rules.
Now,
We, we,
when you say pay politicians, explain that.
when they're running, you give them money for whatever, because that's how the game is played. The game is played with politicians. I remember saying, I don't know if you guys, now, not bribes. I don't believe in bribes. The Bible teaches against bribes.
Right.
But hey, it's kind of like you scratch my back out. Hey, I'm helping you. You help us, man, because we really need help. Campaign donations.
Yeah.
There you go. Campaign donations. It's kind of like I remember. First time I heard about it is in a show called The Men That Build America. I don't know how many you guys watched it, with Cornelius Vanderbilt, Andrew Carnegie, John D. Rockefeller, and J.P. Morgan, and they sat up there, and the guy who was running for president, he was going to kind of come against corporations and start filing lawsuits against them and trying to break them up. So what they did was they got together and they said, we have to buy ourselves a president. Yeah, yep. We have to buy ourselves a president. And that's what they did. And I suspect they probably did donations or something like that. But we have to have the money. And that's the purpose of the Black Wealth. Because if we had the money to provide donations and then get with politicians to change rules, then I think it will turn out a little better for us. It will begin to get better. And I mean, because a lot of the guys, and I don't know, I only know about what I know, but a lot of us as brothers and sisters, when we go, uh, we commit a crime, or yeah, we commit a crime, and then we get ready to get sentenced. We're sentenced a lot longer than a white person is sentenced. And that's unjust and it's unfair. But if we did have a good lawyer, it wouldn't end up that way. We shouldn't even have to do that because that's unfair, that's unjust. It shouldn't even be that way. But we should be able to have proper legal representation. But the thing I'm pointing at is that when you have no money, I mean, they're going to put you away for years. They're going to put you away for years. They're going to lock you up for years, even though you didn't deserve it, because that's the way the system is. I mean,
So I think we can take this information. I don't know where this feedback is coming from. But I think the information that you have given us has been great. So in order to better ourselves, we've got to educate ourselves first,
yes.
instead of going into it blindly. Prayerfully, we got a movement that's going on. Hopefully,
Thank
some things
God.
will change.
Thank God. Thank
Yeah.
God we do.
And prayerfully, we can keep our foot on the gas and not let up. And we can make some major changes. But I just know a lot of times, yeah, we as Black people, we can make some mistakes, but a lot of what the reason why we can't get out of some of the areas that we're in is because we don't have the finances, and it's intended for it to be that way. The system is set up. If I put you in, I already know you can't get out, so I can keep you in as long as possible. There are people that's been incarcerated for almost 20 years just for marijuana. And so
That's right.
while our family is still in a poor community, they can't get out, Holly, because now you got a mother trying to take care of 5 kids. She's working 2 jobs, and it's almost like that she's trapped. But we say, yeah, and we say, some of us have the mindset to say, we're there because we made stupid mistakes. Who haven't in our lifetime so far haven't made a stupid mistake? I've made plenty, but I think our mind have to be, once we do get out and we can educate ourselves and we can get to a certain level, then we need to go back and pull somebody else out, and not just have the mindset to say, well, you know what, I got mine, they got to get that. Or, you know what, if they hadn't did this or they hadn't did that, they wouldn't be in the shape. That's a terrible mindset to have. That's just my opinion.
No, absolutely. And the thing is, here's the tricky thing. When we hear people say, hey, education, well, the truth of the matter is there's 3 kinds of education. There's actually there's more than 3 kinds, because there's academic, there's professional, there's financial, there's physical, there's spiritual. All right. These are all types of education. LeBron James got to the NBA by virtue of physical education. Okay?
Right.
All right. So that's still education. This guy had to shoot shots. He had to take care of himself physically. He had to lift weights. A prize fighter, that's physical education. For a pastor, for an apostle, an evangelist, a prophet, that's spiritual education. And for a teacher, for a doctor, for a lawyer, that's professional education. But the one thing that, so when people say education, you got to say, well, man, what kind of education you're talking about? Because the truth of the matter is, just because you go to school doesn't mean you're going to be successful. It does not mean you're going to be successful. But the end result is this. The purpose of me going to school, going to college, I went to college, but the whole purpose was to make money. It wasn't really, I ask kids, I'll say, hey, what are you going to school for? So I can get educated. Okay, what do you get educated for? And we always get to money. So you have to learn what to do with your money. And I always find it fascinating and funny that if you say, hey, I got $10,000, what should I do with it? And the other person's always going to say, give it to me. Well, give it to me. No, you need education. You got to learn. And it's not education that you're going to learn from in school. You just won't get it in school because school's been designed to make you an employee. That's the purpose of school, to make you an employee. Why? Because the government needs you to pay taxes. They need you to pay taxes. Who do they need you to pay taxes to? The Federal Reserve Bank. That's the way the system's been designed. But what the rich do is not taught in school. And so very few of us become rich. There are some of us who get it. You know, we go from rapper to business person, basketball player to business person, right? Who else? Who else is there? But in the end, it's always business and investing. That will make you the wealthiest and the richest. So in the end, the last point I want to make is I told my son, convert earned income to passive and portfolio income. That's what I told him. But you can also, don't forget, you can also start a business or buy a business. But do your best to, your purpose of starting or buying that business is to take the money from the business and buy real estate or buy stocks that produce dividends or, you know, things like that, that provide income. So once the income from the real estate is greater than your monthly expenses, you don't need the business anymore. You're done. The business was just a way to take before tax income to buy your assets. That was the purpose of the business, because when you receive a paycheck, I know all of you look at your paycheck and you be like, where's my money? Where's my money? They took the taxes out. They've been doing that since 1943. And the reason they did that was so they can pay the Federal Reserve Bank. It's not federal, has no reserves, and is not a bank, but is a consortium, is a cartel of the richest families in the world. That's behind the Federal Reserve Bank, but that's another story. Okay? So you want to pay very little to nothing in taxes. And the way you do that is by giving the government what they want. So instead of looking for a job, create jobs. Instead of looking for housing, create housing. Provide. Don't just be a consumer, be a producer. Do what the government wants done and help the government, and that you will become richer and richer and richer and richer. It starts with the mindset, though.
All right. We've come to the end of our time, and I think that we have been richly blessed with a lot of information that we didn't know. And here's what I will do. If we get more questions after we go off, if you have any questions, if you have any more questions that you want to ask, please email us. Our information will be put in the chat box in just a second. You can email us, and those of you that are on tonight that was blessed with what you heard, if there's any particular subject that you would like to hear, please send it to us, info@nlcbc.org. We will try to do our best to get this, because my desire is that through this pandemic that we can come out empowered. We're home. Many of us who are still quarantined, but we got to come out of this thing better than we came in it. And so what Let's Talk About It is about is trying to empower us to become a better people. And so we thank James for coming on tonight, as we have all the rest of our guests that has been on in the past few weeks. Next week, for all of you that may be looking for us to be on, we will have next week off. We won't be on next week, but I promise you we'll be on the following week. So thank you all. James, they're telling you thank you for coming on and being a part of this platform. I appreciate you, man. You are a new friend in my circle. And so, you know, we're going to be chatting some more, probably sometime this week and next week. And so you've given me some good advice. I'm going to take that advice and use it. And once I get it in my head, then I'll come back to you and get a little bit more. And so thank you again. And yes, it was recorded. How can someone watch this again? Tiara, can you help us out? You can probably go to our Facebook. We will save it on Facebook and we will put it on YouTube as well. So please put the information in the box where they can go to YouTube once we get it loaded up so they can watch this again. And please put the link for our church website in as well so they can go back and re-look at this again. So you got family on watching tonight. They're giving you thumbs up. They're proud of you. You did a great job. So it's always good to have somebody that you know in the camp that's watching. So we thank you, man, and we appreciate you. And to all of our friends and family who watching us by Facebook and watching us by Zoom, thank you so much for tuning in. This platform is a couple of months old, but as the scriptures say, don't despise small beginnings. So we got to start somewhere.
Amen.
The Lord
Amen.
gave me this idea a year ago. I thought when he gave it to me, it was time to do it then, but he didn't tell me to release it until after we got into this pandemic. And so here's where we are. And so God has been supplying guests to come on each week to bless us. Every person that I've looked for since we've started, the resources have been there. So I'm thankful, and I'm thankful to you, James, that you didn't find it robbery to hold this information in, because we need it. There's so many books already in the graveyard. There's so many ideas that's already in the graveyard that we can't get back. So you came to us tonight. You shared your heart and your knowledge and what you learned and all those years that you burned the midnight oil. We thank you that we got a chance to get some of it.
It was an honor and a privilege. It is for you. I burnt that midnight oil for you guys. It wasn't for me. It was for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Now we will also have this on, let's see, it'll be on YouTube by tomorrow. So if you look in the chat box, you'll be able to see how to get to our YouTube, and you can watch it as many times as you like. So again, thank you, everyone. Good night. We'll see you not next week, but we'll see you the following week. But please follow us on Facebook, because we'll let you know exactly what our topic will be the following week. So we're going to be posting it up until the day of. And so you'll see actually what we'll be talking about. And we would love for you to join us each time that we're on. So good night, everybody. We love you in Jesus' name.
Bye-bye.
See you.